Hello. I want to use YouTube. I've used it in previous places I've taught to kind of explain the past week, cover up to date weeks, put out announcements, so you get the full essence of the course. I also like to use YouTube because, again, you could see me as a person, and I'm not just someone grading things behind a keyboard where you don't even know who you can't even visualize who it is. So welcome to our first YouTube, and welcome to week 2 of this course. And as I mentioned in the Blackboard, welcome to the course as well. So I want to cover again week 1, week 2, review of last week. So we covered the basics of intelligence, the intelligence cycle. Largely consists of requirements, collection, analysis, and dissemination. A good theory of the intelligence cycle for this course. But the key thing is to think about that when we're looking at your future national security problems, or the ones that you're doing your paper on, or in the future when we have intelligence failures, and you can bring that up to current day, whether it's the Capitol Hill, the January 6th incident on Capitol Hill, which has been in the news of late. You can ask, was there an intelligence failure, and if so, where was it in this cycle? Where did the cycle break down? You could do that for whether you're doing cybersecurity for your business unit, if you're working in the private sector. So hopefully it was a good introduction to the intelligence cycle. Obviously, the discussion point referenced the origins of COVID-19. And we do this because this is a national security problem that we've all been experiencing the last 2 years. But there's a biological and epidemiological side to COVID-19, but there's also a national security and intelligence side. It's been debate what was the origins of the COVID-19, and I should tell you I have no inside information. I read the same newspapers that everyone else does. But most of the scientific consensus was that it was a natural born. However, again, there is reasons to think that it could have originated in the lab. There's several reasons for this. One, the Chinese have been very, very covering up the origins of COVID. They have not shared data. So the implication is if they are covering this up, conspiracy theories flow out. Or not even, everyone can have their own hypotheses, and those flow out. So that's issue 1. Issue 2 is if you look at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, they were studying COVID bats. Several of, not quite patient zeros, but several of the employees there, we now know got sick from COVID. We don't know if it was from a lab or if they got it because they were out in the market. So that's further evidence of a potential a lab leak. And then the third thing just came out in The Economist today is that possibly the genetic makeup implies some sort of additive processing. That's still in the infant set, or in the basic theory. Again, I'm sure we'll get more knowledge from the expertise there going forward. But the bottom line is that this is a debatable question, and we'll talk about intelligence issues and how there's no real true answer, but how to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff and trying to get to the key points when you're trying to solve one of these important national origin questions. And it's important, again, because we're going to have another pandemic in the future. And we're going to have another China or another country is going to hide the origins of the pandemic. And we need to have separate, not just the medical and the World Health Organizations, but a separate function to get information on potential pandemics in the future. So that's kind of the genesis of this question. So again, debates with the lab leak and the natural origin. So your final papers, I saw it. There are 3 topics. There are 3 great documentaries on each one of the topics. I'm not requiring you to read it, but I think it'll give you a great insight into it. And I posted the documentaries down there in the YouTube links. So feel free to go ahead and watch those. And the key point is, as we're going through each module, whether it's on the intelligence community or DHS, analytical issues, trace that back to the issues surrounding your paper topic, whether it was the Unabomber or 9/11 or Oklahoma City. Does the starting of DHS, would that have solved the 9/11 issue? Would the intelligence sharing principles that we're going to talk about in a few weeks, would that have prevented 9/11 or Oklahoma City? So that's what I want you to think about going forward. And then preview of next week, again, the origins of DHS. Origins after 9/11. There was a feeling that there was just too many different disparate elements within our national security and our homeland security realm. There was no coordination with state level and local municipalities. So they created DHS to bring everything under one roof. There's a problem with that, though. An organization that does too much doesn't do anything. That's an old cliche. And under DHS, you have everything from the border to cybersecurity issues to disaster management to a whole other plethora of homeland security, of issues brought under one umbrella with different cultures and different missions. So the question is that too much? Too much bandwidth? Is it better to have each of these different agencies that have a line to the president? And one of the examples that always gives, it's always helpful if FEMA had a direct line to the president so they can solve whatever issue that comes up or natural disaster that comes up instead of being under DHS and having more bureaucracy. So you're going to see origins of DHS and then the advantages and disadvantages going forward. And again, trace this back to your papers. If there had been a DHS, would there have been a 9/11? There had been a DHS, would there have been an Oklahoma City? So think about that going forward. Again, please acknowledge that you've watched this. Send me just a quick email, and if there's problems or anything like bandwidth problems, I'll put that in the emails. But if there are problems or anything like that, please let me know.